So we can start with my wish.
Yeah. Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Ashok ji, you can start.
Okay, Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. My wish. The lover has to keep the wish of the beloved. My wish for my lovers is as follows. 1. Do not shirk your responsibilities. 2. Attend faithfully to your worldly duties, but always keep at the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. 3. When you feel happy, think, Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think, Baba wants me to suffer. 4. Be resigned to every situation and think honestly and sincerely, Baba has placed me in this situation. 5. With the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. 6. I say with my divine authority to each and all that whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last moments. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now on. Even if you take my name only once every day, you will not forget to remember me in your dying moments. Avatar.
Avatar Meher Baba, Baba ki Jai. One second. So where are we now? Let's just open up and refer that. So we are at the last booklet, the period June 1948 to 1st August 1949. We are almost done with it. I mean, we are, I think, the last 30-40 pages. So let's go and get started and hopefully finish the book as well today. And if there's a little bit of a stretch, we'll try to finish it today. And if need be, we can even decide what to do and spend some time and finalize the plan. So I had a brief chat with Kama, and I think some of you also have had a discussion. The proposal from my side is that we do Mehra on Saturday, okay, and Sunday we do discourses. So, in effect, what we are doing is serializing two books. One book helping us on the journey of the heart, one book helping us on the journey of the mind. And I think that's a pattern. If it works for us, we'll try to sustain. So, we'll keep going after books that talk about experiences, stories, and Baba accounts on Saturday, and keep going back to rigorous learning, study, and academic pursuit on Sundays. And both will have their own Trello cards. Both will have a YouTube playlist. So we'll post and organize the information so that even if some people miss out something, they can catch up and so on. I think this is something that hit me, and I thought that was a good way to go forward. I don't know if everybody understood it the way I put it out in Telegram. Any comments? Any thoughts?
It's a good plan, and we have variety, and reading about Mehra is really uh,
Yes.
I mean it's something which is I had in my mind and it's come out. So I think I'm okay with it. Yes.
Yeah. It's a good idea actually. Saturdays are software days and Sundays are hardware, that way.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
So it'll be good. Reading accounts, determined to be his. That's the way it was. Irach books
So
are
many are there. So many are
though
there
so
for
many are there.
Saturdays.
The personal
Yeah, for
accounts, the
Saturdays.
memoirs of a Jetatic. I mean,
Correct.
there are many. Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
keep
Baba.
going. We can keep
Yeah.
going.
Jai Baba.
And then we can keep rotating again and again with discourses. God speaks, listen, humanity, Baba's messages, circulars. Then pick up Lord. On the Saturday we can think of even Lord Mayor at some point, right? So I think the approach is mind and heart. That's what like I put it in the message, right? So let's do mind and heart. And balance it is what we need to do. Balance both. Or
Yes.
rather, actually go to the heart, not even balancing. So, by the way, we were talking. I was checking with Ashok on how he found yesterday's chat. We had a great time on the Sanskaras call. I know it's very, very late. So, in that sense, it may not work for India time. And I hope he can do it more often, Ashok. But then I find it quite a bit of fun, especially given the nature of the crowd that comes and the interest level and how we work through. I found it to be very good. So yesterday we read one of the chapters of Discourses, and Ravi was there. I don't know where Ravi is today. I think it's probably Friday evening, busy. Okay, so let's get started. Just one
Karthik,
second.
it was a delightful stretch.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you mean for the sleep? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So for me, the challenge is after that, typically Roosbay and me will keep this. Roosbay was in and out. He was busy yesterday. So he was at home, but he didn't get on the video. Then we were chatting till almost midnight Dubai time. And then here I am, 5 o'clock. I'm up. So in that sense, it's a tough weekend time for me. But given that I don't have any other thing doing when I'm here, it's okay, right? And in this weather, you hardly go out. So um, this is great.
great.
Okay, we were in page 16, right? Yeah, stopped here. So we'll start from chapter 2. Um, any volunteer to start reading, or should I read for a bit and then we rotate? Let me do that. Chapter 2, Incidents and Contacts of Tours from Mount Abu, March to May 1949. On 1st March 1949, Baba arrived with a small group in Mount Abu. The mountain is a mass of tree-clad rock that towers above the dreary wastes of southern Rajasthan. The landscape on the mountain itself has a majesty in which beauty is ever at war with ugliness, a war in which the tide of battle is so uncertain that one hesitates to lay a bet on the winner. In the ranks of beauty, we must admire the powerful sweep of ridge and buttress and the vesture of tree and shrub. And in the ranks of ugliness, we are afflicted by ubiquitous monoliths of weathered cyanide, so pockmarked with cavities that I, for one, was constantly comparing them to Brobdingnagian hunks of Gruyere cheese or to carious teeth of giants. I mean, William Donkins can beat Shashi Tharoor hands down. Let's see the number of words we need a reference on. Cyanide. What is cyanide? 1 second. Light colored, coarse grained plutonic igneous rock consisting of field spars with hollow metal. Yeah, okay, so that's what it means. It's a particular rock type. Anyway, basically, he's describing the nature of Mount Abu, and basically, he's saying there's both the different kinds of rocks and the it's a desert, but in the midst of a desert, there is a hill and some greenery. I don't know how many of you have been to Mount Abu. I have. It's beautiful. I think I'm sure you have been there, right, Ashok?
No,
So,
no. What are the other two words here? Bob did. So sorry.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Probdingagin. Engagin.
It's in capital, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's named after somebody, that's for sure. In American English, of huge size, gigantic. Okay, just large. So juggernaut or gargantuan, that kind of word. So it's just named after, if you want, named after, yeah, of or pertaining to Brobdingnag. Nag.
Enormous. Okay. So yeah, it's we got the idea. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And Gruyere cheese. What is that?
Derives from the noun broad, the land of the. Okay. So it's named after a fictional character, this guy. Can you
Ah,
see that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then the next one was Gruyere. I think it's a type of cheese, but
Yes, that's okay.
we can check the image if you want. Yeah, there it is. So with the holes and
Yeah, okay.
okay. All right. So that is to be sure, I'll continue. That is to be sure a personal estimate, and no one will dispute that it is a place of most ancient historical associations and a magnetic center that has drawn great spiritual beings of all ages to live in its caves and temples. It is a place of special sanctity to Jains and Hindus, and it is said of Abu that if you fast there but one day, all your sins are forgiven you, and that if you live there but 1 year, you will become the preceptor of all mankind. Oh, I wasn't aware of this. This is a special place in that sense. Maybe it's more in the Jain tradition, and you may be aware of this, Ashok. In this
Yeah,
chapter,
absolutely. It is a place of significance.
I think apart from the Jains, also the Brahmakumaris have a headquarters there. And obviously, I think historic reference is there to Mount Abu in the Jain culture, right? There's the big temple and all that.
Yes,
Dilbara.
yes, yes.
Yeah. In this chapter, no less than in the last, there is free license to wander at will in time and space. And my aim will therefore be to pick out the most arresting features of the work that Baba did during the 3 months that his headquarters were at Abu. First, then, work on Mount Abu itself. The most interesting contact here was with a man known as Matragiri Maharaj, a good yogi who lives in a hut at Oriya, a village not far from the mountain's highest crest, some 4 miles from the town of Abu. Baba contacted Matragiri Maharaj twice during this stay at Abu. At the first contact, there was a countryman sitting by the hut who gave his age as somewhere in the 40s, and this man said that he remembered quite well having seen Matragiri Maharaj when he, the countryman, was a small boy, and he explained that there had been, as far as his own memory went, no change in the yogi's physical appearance since then. It is impossible for the casual visitor to estimate Matragiri Maharaj's age by looking at him. He is tall and bony and naked except for a loincloth, and his hair is black and his skin almost black. His eyes are deep set and his glance penetrating, though this does not disturb one in the least. It is, one feels, the glance of a saint. The only mark of age is that the skin all over his body is very finely wrinkled, but so finely that the minute corrugations can be seen only when one comes within a few paces of him. Baba contacted this yogi originally on an earlier visit to Mount Abu in 1947, a contact that is described in the last chapter of the Wayfarers. I have thought it worth including an account of these later contacts in this chapter because, in conjunction with the account of the yogi at Avanashi in the last chapter, one is forced to recognize that this quality of agelessness is common to many yogis. The only other episode at Abu itself that I shall describe here was a contact with an advanced pilgrim known as Haridas Baba Nirvan. This bent old man is naked except for a ragged loin cloth, and he sits under the wretched remains of a patched umbrella on a stone platform at the edge of the Nakki lake. When Baba sat with him for contact, Haridas wept and wept, calling himself Ishwar's dog, a touching phrase to express his worthlessness in the eyes of God. He was so overcome by emotion that it was some 15 minutes before he would let Baba leave his side. So much for Abu itself, and now let us turn to some of the incidents of the tours. In his first journey early in March, Baba went up to Ajmer, where he contacted Chacha again, and he also gave 5 rupees each to 44 widows. In the Wayfarers, there are many accounts of such occasional contacts with the poor, but this is, I believe, the first time that he has contacted and given alms to widows. These gifts that Baba gives from time to time to poor people in large numbers are not, we may be sure, ordinary charity. Baba contacts these people behind closed doors, though what he does at the time of contact is not known to us because we are not allowed to see his work. I think, however, that we are justified in the assumption that the gift itself, whether it be money or cloth or grain or anything else, is a kind of catalyst by which Baba is able to bring about a certain spiritual reaction, just as a chemist may use a catalyst to bring about a certain chemical reaction. Baba, we know, often gives charity to individual people with apparently no other aim than to lessen the burden of their material cares. But these gifts are of quite another kind and involve no contact. Enough, however, of Ajmer, and let us pester the tireless Hanuman again to carry us in an effortless leap from the heights of Abu to the little township of Badnera in the central provinces. One night in April, Baba and his men set out from this town for Chand Tara, a village some 9 miles distant, in order that Baba might contact a must known as Badri Baba. When it came to a question of how to cover these 9 miles, they had to take a Hobson's choice and charter the only transport available, that infernal and springless chariot, the bullock cart. Imagine then this loathsome Chandridan plunging through the darkness along an even more loathsome track. Feel, if you dare, not only the eternal vibration, but also the unpredictable toss that comes when wheel meets boulder or plunges into a rut a foot deep. See, if you can, see anything by this chlorotic moonlight. Baba and his men huddled upon the splintery floorboards, clinging for dear life to one another or to the quaking bulwarks of the cart's sides. Beautiful, almost poetic expressions on how this journey will go on in the moonlight on this bullock cart, right? So you can almost visualize it. But we just make some quick references on two things. Hobson's choice. Choice is a free choice in. Okay, that's what it means. I heard the term. So Hobson's choice is a free choice in which only one thing is actually offered. So you have many transport choices, but it's only a bullock cart. There's no other choice. So, and then he says Chandridan, meaning of chairs with a hood. Okay, so something like a old fashioned conveyance, rickety old. Yeah, it's a old transport vehicle. And last one, moonlight, chlorotic moonlight. Okay, so chlorotic is not really a usage. yellowing. So I think yellow moonlight. Let's take it like that, right? Okay, let's continue. You may suspect all this to be a picturesque exaggeration, but your suspicions will be laid once and for all when I tell you that a bundle of notes to the value of 700 rupees, which was wedged firmly and buttoned up in Eruch's pocket, was shaken out of the pocket of that pocket and lost. Wow. One of Eruch's shoes was lost also, though this might, one must concede, have happened under the best conditions. As soon as Erach became aware of the horrible emptiness of that pocket of his, he told Baba about it, since the money was, of course, Baba's. And what was Baba's reply? He told Erach, if you please, to think about the must first, saying that the money did not matter now, but that the must did. Any prolix commentary on this astounding reply would be superfluous, but I would suggest that at least that it gives us an idea of the importance that Baba attaches to his work with the God intoxicated, and that it was, moreover, a very different answer from what you or I would have given under the circumstances. And so on went the party, lighter by 700 rupees and a shoe, but heavier, Baba's remarks notwithstanding, by a load of anxiety and self reproof that lay like a lump of osmium in Erich's heart. The party reached the village at about 1 a.m., and the first thing they heard was Badri Baba laughing at the top of his voice. This was followed by an interval of silence, and some moments later, they heard him cry out, Baba is hungry. Baba is hungry. A proclamation that referred to the Mast himself and not to our Baba. It seems that Badri Baba shouts Baba is hungry at any time of night or day, even immediately after a full meal, and he has other strange habits also. Thus, if he sleeps or wanders or sits, he does each of these things for 2 or 3 days at a stretch. He is, however, a good must and is very famous in Badnera and the surrounding country. At this time of night, it was only natural that the entire village was asleep, and after a good deal of fuss and the disbursement of 1 rupee, one of Baba's men got a small brass cupful of goat's milk, a hunk of raw sugar, and a piece of bhakri. Baba gave these to Badri Baba and then sat with him for contact. The contact over, Baba and his men set off at about 2:30 a.m. to return to Badnera. 1 o'clock you arrive and then start back at 2:30. Okay. We can rotate the reading. Anybody wants to read? Ashok, you want to start? Or
Yeah, okay. Just one
yeah,
second. Jay Baba.
Jai Baba.
Since the loss of the packet of money had affected the spirits of Baba's companions, Shagan volunteered to walk in front of the bullock cart, an electric torch in each hand, so that he might search for the money and the shoe. About 2 miles from the village, he found the shoe, and this gave him confidence that the money would be found also, as found it was about a mile ahead. This, you'll agree, an appropriate moment to take our leave of this little band of tired but happy men tossing in darkness back to Bandera in company with their master, and we may wish that Godspeed on their journey and a cup of hot tea at Bandera. From from Bandera, they went next to Nagpur, where the use of a car was offered them by one of Baba's disciples. It was the sanguine expectation of those with Baba that this car would carry them swiftly and in comfort to several widely dispersed centers for Baba's work. That this was, however, a vain delusion may be seen by the account of the very first night out. Before they set forth, some 20 pieces of baggage had to be stored away in the car, a problem that might have baffled the canniest stevedore and captain and crew, a complement of six, then forced themselves into the exiguous accommodation that remained. In the late afternoon, they set out for Sioni, a town about 18 miles from Nagpur. Now it's so,
Stevedoring is a logistics term. So it's somebody who basically manages parcels and it's a logistics term. So he's just talking about how to fill the car with all the units of baggage and the six people.
so it relates to supply chain.
Yes, yes. Stevedoring. You must have heard of the term, right? Stevedoring's note.
Yeah.
It also comes in accounting.
Yes, yes, yes.
Longshoreman, docker or a dock worker, manual labor who's involved in loading and unloading ships.
Yeah. Now it so happened that there was a hill called Ramtek by the roadside between Nagpur and Sioni, upon the slopes of which stood a kind of small temple where an old blind saint was reputed to live. When they reached this hill, Baba therefore stopped the car and sent his men up to find out whether the saint would allow Baba to contact him. This was about 9 o'clock at night, and despite shouts and thundering on the door, the old man, whether pusillanimous or obtuse, we know not, refused to let them in. Baba's men therefore came down the hill again and set off once more to Sioni. The first impact with misfortune on this night of misfortunes occurred not miles beyond this luckless hill when a back tire burst with a loud report. The offending wheel was removed and the spare tire fitted, and only after the later had been screwed well and truly tight was it discovered that the spare was flat also. Out therefore came the hand pump, and Baba's men set to turn by turn at the brave task of inflation, a task beside which the moil and toil of Sisyphus would seem but a Saturday afternoon amusement. Do not, however, conclude that this labor of pumping was the last of their troubles, for it was, in fact, the first, and there is no doubt in my mind at least that Our Lady Maya was in one of her more vexatious humors that night. She had begun, as we had learned, by seeing to it that the spare wheel was flat, despite assurances of the car's chauffeur before the party ever left Nagpur that everything was ship-shape and Bristol fashion. But Our Lady Maya had done much more than this, for she had made assurance of disaster doubly sure by seeing to it that there was a twist in the gaiter which had been fitted some time or other inside the spare wheel, a twist that was never noticed in the darkness and was the cause of some 6 punctures that night. She had, moreover, added a final touch of vixeniousness or showishness of what you will by seeing to it that the patches of the puncture repair outfit were old and perished and thus utterly useless.
Ah, wow.
Thus, at the first puncture, you want to say something? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I said Maya is visualized as a vixen and referred to very, very personally. So this is the what should I say? Sagun Sakar Maya. There is something like that.
Yes. Thus, at the first puncture, after the fitting of the spare wheel, Baba's men had to wait helpless for an hour or more until a lorry came trundling down this lonely road, from the driver of which they borrowed a few fresh patches. Each time the tire went flat, it was removed and repaired by torchlight and with these borrowed patches. But the last time, about 4 a.m. now, and still some 7 miles from Sweeney, the tire went flat once more, and they found the guts lacerated beyond repair. It was, as a matter of fact, only on this last disemboweling of the tire that the villain of all these dastardly crimes was discovered, the twisted gaiter.
What's a gator? the second time this word's appearing.
Some rod or something.
Yeah, maybe inside the tire. I don't know. What is a gaiter? Gaiters are a type of protective clothing. Okay, gaiters are one. So he said gaiter somewhere above, right? Inflation, gaiter.
There must be another connotation or meaning to this. One second.
Yeah, but I think something that messed up with the tire, and the cause was discovered to be this twisted gaiter. It could be, as you said, probably in, I don't know, in those days if there was metal in the tires, like the radials. I mean, the, what do you call, the treads that have metal inside for strength. Maybe that caused the repeated punctures that kept happening. Anyway, let's continue.
Gator could be the frame of the tire on which the rubber is mounted.
Ah, that could
That's
be the
my
case
guess,
also.
because those
Yes.
times the tires were not reinforced with
Ah, metal.
wires. That is why they used to, break down so often.
Often.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay. Sure.
So we saw the meaning: cloth or leather covering for the leg from knee to ankle. So it must, as Sanjay said, a covering.
Possible.
I said, I think frame, but
Frame.
what you are saying is covering on the rubber that is molded. On the top of there is a hard rubber coating. That is what grater is looks like. In the you must have seen the tire being refurbished. They put a 10 mm thick ring across. So that's
Hmm.
what it is. Yeah, that's the grater. Yeah.
Maybe a joint gator, gator kit, track gator. Yeah, it looks like it's a uh, automobile term, but I think uh, suffice for us to say that it was the cause of all the punctures. That's it.
Yes.
The car thus, yeah.
The car, thus hopelessly crippled, the only solution was for one of the party to go into Sioni to fetch a new tire and tube, and Chagan therefore set off to cover those 7 dreary miles on Shank's mare. About half an hour after he had left, however, the others recollected to their horror that Chagan, bemused by fatigue, had gone off without a sou in his pocket. Vishnu therefore set off in pursuit, taking the necessary money with him, caught Chagan up not long after he had reached the town. Chagan himself arrived in Sioni before dawn and stalked into the city only a few minutes after an alarm had been given of a robbery. Police were milling about the streets and they not unnaturally accosted this lanky and haunted looking stranger as a suspect. Shagan was able, however, to satisfy them that this was an entirely innocent fatigue and was allowed to go about his business. He fell in with Vishnu not long after, and the two of them soon bought the new tire and tube. The sight of these two exhausted pilgrims arriving at the car at about 9 o'clock that morning with brand new wheel wear seems to have made Maya throw up the sponge, for from that hour onwards the party was left in peace. The work in Sioni was completed the same day, and Baba proceeded thence on a extensive tour in the same car, dismissing it eventually at Allahabad some days later, whence it was returned to its owner at Nagpur. It may seem strange that a spiritually perfect being should allow himself to get entangled in such an otta of apparent fatuous disasters, and it is because I have wanted to show how a perfect master does sometimes get himself involved in such perplexities that I have included an account of this tiresome night. Has explained many times that resistance of one kind or another is necessary for this work. If we take this as our starting point, it is surely justifiable to surmise that when resistance is not forthcoming on of its own accord, a perfect master may deliberately invite it by walking with open eyes into situation that he knows will bring difficulties and perhaps even disasters upon him. I just wanted to say that the tiresome night, the word has got a double meaning. The tire and
Pun.
the pun, yes, yes. Thank you.
Good one.
This, of course, may seem a bright idea in theory, but when we are told about some incident in which a master allows himself to be humiliated or obstructed to the point, as it might seem to us, of absurdity, we are conscious of cross currents running in our minds that make us wonder what spiritual perfection means. It would be impossible for me, at least, to define what I really know nothing about. But in this context, we can certainly ask ourselves whether, if we accept that Christ was spiritually perfect, he was any the less perfect because he deliberately allowed himself to be nailed to a cross like a common criminal. It
It
might,
brings about a very important point, right? So I think
yeah,
the need or the way Baba has put himself to face these natural and I mean, what should I say? These pressures in this Advent makes you wonder. And quite honestly, he's only given another parallel for another avatar. And Baba himself has said all this is part of his work, and we will never understand what the significance or the symbolism or the impact of what he experienced, the way he did is. We don't know. We don't know what it will be, right? But it's a good point he makes.
right, Karthik, we don't know the hidden meaning behind it, but there was a Satara accident, and then I think in California, and in various even you know various infliction of pain and which even Baba has gone through.
Yes.
It might seem unfair to compare the agony of crucifixion with the night of petty annoyances, but it seems to me that the principle common to both is that a perfect master deliberately allows himself to suffer in a way and at a time that answers to the needs of his work. The particular reason for enduring a particular difficulty or disaster may be beyond our understanding, but I am certain of one thing at least, that all such voluntary sufferings, whether great or small, are borne by these realized beings for the salvation of mankind. 2 days after this night of patching and pumping, a contact took place that deserves a short description. Dada Thantan Pal lives at Jumunia, a village not far from Jabalpur. He is reported to be about 150 years old and is now so decrepit that he cannot walk. He came originally, so people say, from the distant city of Bareilly. A certain woman died one day in Bareilly, and Dada Thantan for some reason or other, kept her body by his side and would allow no one to remove it for cremation. This, as we may well understand, gave offense to the woman's relatives, and the following day an infuriated mob came and took the body away by main force. Following the crisis, Thandan Pal became so unpopular that he very sensibly left Bareilly, and he came in due course to this little village near Jabalpur, where he now lives in the house of a landowner.
Just see what this is. Tunton is pronounced to rhyme very roughly with the slang word tum tum, and pal to rhyme with the word German word Thal. Okay.
So
Okay.
Thandan Pal, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
His name is bizarre indeed, and its origins deserve a word or two of explanation. It should be understood to begin with that saints and musts are believed to have the power of granting the desires of ordinary mortals. Thus, a barren woman desiring a child may visit some saint or other, and a man about to start a new business may beseech him to give the enterprise his blessing. Many people with desires of this kind visit Dada Thandan Pal, and his response to all or most of them is, I don't take anything from Vishnu and I don't give anything to Mahadev. I just sit in peace and bliss and don't care a rap for anyone or anything. The Hindustani for the last phrase is Thandan Pal, and this man's name. Baba explains that Dada Thandan Pal is an adept pilgrim, and although he is very loving, very lovable, and as mild as a lamb, he radiates such power that when you sit near him, you feel as if you are face to face with a tiger.
Adept is below or above advanced pilgrim. I
It's
think I'll
below.
never. Huh?
It's below.
So then it's fourth and fifth, right?
Yes.
I mean, third and fourth.
Yes. Yes. I think Ravi is there, and if he wants to read or something,
Yeah, we can rotate.
or I can continue. But I think I saw Ravi and his video on.
Yeah.
I just
So-
came in a shock. I need to take a breath.
Yeah, you do that. I just observed that you were there. That's all. I'll
So
continue.
Thank you
Adept
so
is
much.
final, boss.
Jai Baba.
Yes.
Adept is fifth
So
and
it's
sixth.
after. It's
Yeah.
after.
So I think we have to
I
somehow get this to our head.
I calculated here.
AD, both are AD. So I think some mnemonic we need. ADV before ADE.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Following this contact.
Yeah. Following this contact at Jumunia, the party proceeded by car through Mandla to Katni, where a contact took place that demands inclusion in this main text. Shobha Mast is, Baba tells us, a very advanced Mast who is Mazub like at times and Salik like at others. Like so many great Musts, he lives in the vilest environment and yet he is strong and healthy, the very embodiment, it would seem, of happiness and vigor. He is found in a yard at the back of the 10th rate Sarai. A hospice would be an egregiously euphemistic translation of this word, where several latrines of the worst kind are but a few yards from him. Not only this, but he sits within the crater of a kind of a volcano about 6 feet high, a volcano made up of every conceivable kind of refuse and muck. You will perhaps get a better idea of what a perfectly splendid place it is if we did add the Sova Mas does not clamber out of this crater even for calls of nature.
My God.
Since Shobha Mas is, as Baba tells, a very advanced Mas, and since he's also, as anyone who has seen him will tell us, an almost unbelievably filthy one from the physical point of view, this is an appropriate moment to reproduce a relevant explanation of Baba's, although it is out of its proper context. The explanation that follows arose out of a contact in July 1949 with a Pune Mas who lived within the four walls of a public urinal. Baba's exact original words were not put down at the time, but since they were addressed principally Dr. Ghani, I have, in collaboration with him and of course with Baba, paraphrased some notes that Ghani gave me. If I really like anything, Baba said, I like two things: Mas and children. I like Mas for their strength and children for their helplessness. The fire of love is very terrible indeed, and the Mas presents a challenge of this terrible fire of love to God the Beloved. At this point, Ghani asked Baba, why do so many must choose dirty and insanity surroundings and how it is that their health isn't affected. Karthik, I just want to say
Yeah.
that there are various situations in which or conditions in which the musts are, but I think it's the internal uh, longing for the perfect master, and it's the beauty inside.
Hmm.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Baba.
Must replied Baba, dictating on his board, because of the terrible fire of their love, present a challenge to the beloved, and this challenge that the beloved should manifest himself is always accompanied by heroic efforts to achieve total self elimination or egolessness, efforts that may take many forms. To live in dirty surroundings, as in or near a latrine or urinal, is one way of utterly forgetting one's bodily existence. And the beauty of it is that when the body is utterly neglected or forgotten, because the consciousness is aware only of love for divine beloved, it does not deteriorate but takes care of itself automatically. The minds of ordinary people are busy looking after their bodies, but they find that in spite of every kind of precaution and care, deterioration can never be avoided altogether. Kabir said, "Tan jaye tan rahe, tan rakhe,
Tan, tan taje.
tan taje, sorry, tan taje, tan rahe, tan rakhe, tan jaye,
Tan jaye, I think, again.
जाए." यही अचंबा हमने देखा, मादा कल को खाए.
Translation is there, yeah.
Discard the body, it remains. Preserve the body, it goes. And so the astounding fact emerges that uncared for corpse eats up death. It is not given to everybody, continued Baba, to be a lover of God.
I
Such,
think just to pause there, I think this is a very profound
yeah.
doha. So the more you think about it, the more beautiful it is. Tan taje tan rahe, tan rakhe tan jaye. So tan taje is give up or give up your body. It stays. If you give it up, it stays. If you preserve or protect tan rakhe, then tan jaye. यही अचंबा हमने देखा, मदा कल को खाए. मदा or mada, I don't know. Mada kal ko khaye. Khal is corpse, is it?
Mada is the corpse eats up death. So
Okay. Hmm. Anyway, beautiful.
It should be
Beautiful.
Kal. Kal nahi
Oh,
Kal.
yes, you're right. Yes, you're
Go
right.
up again. यही
Mada
अचंबा हमने
kal
देखा,
ko khaye.
मद काल को खाए.
हाँ मत काल को
मद
खाए.
मद.
Mad kal ko khaye.
तन जाए तन रहे, तन राखे तन जाए. यही अचंबा हमने देखा, मद काल को खाए. Mud is ego. Could be that.
Could be
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah. मद
Mad
काल को खाए.
kal ko khaye.
Now it makes better sense.
Yeah.
Nice. I love. By the way, thanks for that recommendation on Silence Day. Do you remember you suggested that book? The in Mehrabad, Sanjay ji. I bought that
Which one?
Kabir.
Kabir's book. Kabir's book.
Yes,
You bought
beautiful.
it?
Beautiful. Yeah,
Beautiful.
remember in
Beautiful.
we were in the bookstore
Amazing.
together.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
in
Yes.
silence, you pointed and said, "Pick it up," and I picked it up. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful book. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
It is not given to everybody, continued Baba, to be a lover of God. Such lovers are so consumed in the fire of love that they are not conscious of their stage of spiritual progress, and they do not have any thought of union with God. They simply enjoy the torture of love and long for more and more of it. These lovers don't have any thoughts about their separation from the beloved, or as I have already told you, any thoughts of union with him. They are resigned to the state in which they find themselves And when their resignation reaches its climax, it is the beloved who seeks union with them. Hafiz says, Firak o wasl che kahi raza e das talab. Separation and union are none of your business. Seek only to resign yourself utterly to the will of God. So
So
much that
Yeah,
Firak,
wasl means
Firak,
togetherness.
yeah.
Wasl means
Wasl is union.
togetherness. Yeah,
Wasl is
yeah,
union.
union.
Wasl
Yeah,
is union. Firak is, I think, closer to the Urdu farak or difference. So separation. So Firak o wasl che kahi.
Firak. Firak o
Oh,
wasl.
is it
Worrying
Firak?
about the
Okay.
union. Firak o wasl.
Oh, okay. Firak.
Yeah,
Firak o wasl.
yeah.
This is Persian, right? Not Arabic.
Yeah, but similar few words may be common.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Common word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
similar.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We can also rotate reading if anybody else is ready to read for a bit.
None of your business means you don't have to worry about it. You know, separation and union are none of your business. Firak e wasl she kahi. So don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Firak mat karo uski. Yeah.
हाँ फिराक फिराक वो वजल चे का ही रजा ए दस्त तालब. Okay. Yeah.
whatever happens, it's the will of God. That's all. The will of
Yes, yes, yes. So any other volunteers to read from this point on? We can rotate.
Let me read for a few minutes. Yeah.
Please, so much.
Yes. I was doing something. So, okay. So I start with
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. So much then for Shobha Mast, and we must agree that this explanation of Baba helps us towards understanding this apparent paradox of inner purity and outer filthiness. Following this and other contacts at Katni, Baba and his party went on by car to Riva, where another great soul was contacted. Mauganj ka Hafiz Ji is an adept pilgrim, also 100% Salik-like, who lives normally in Mauganj, a small town about 40 miles off the east of Riva. Although he comes now and again to stay in Riva itself, he is said to be about 125 years old, and he winds a single piece of cloth around his body in spiral fashion so that it covers him from shoulder to ankle. He is respected by both Hindus and Muslims, and people come even from Allahabad to see him. From Riva, we shall now proceed to the world famous city of Banaras, where Baba and his men arrived 4 days after this contact with Mauganj Ka Hafizi. Although Baba has been many times to this pilgrim city that overlooks the wide waters of Ganges, he has never, I think, made such a remarkable contact as on this visit in April 1949. First of all, however, a word or two about one another, one other contact in this city is only because the sequel to the meeting was unusual. The man in question is known as Lakaria Baba. He is tubally fellow, 50ish to look at, and he wears quite decent clothes and sits in a little stall and gives away bits of wood and string as talismans to people who ask him for such things. The men with Baba were not impressed by Lakaria's appearance. He was, they thought, too well fed and too well dressed. Baba, however, explained that he was an advanced soul, and he told Iraj to write his name and address on a piece of paper and remind him about him as soon as they returned to Abu. Baba reached Abu on 28th April, and Iraj reminded Baba about this man the next day. He was told to write Lakharia Baba's name and address on a fresh slip of paper, and this slip was kept by Baba on the table near his bed.
Hmm.
He is the one, I think.
So this is
Mauganj ka
Mauganj ka
Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Hafiz
This is
ji.
Mauganj ka Hafiz ji.
Yeah, Riva, near Riva.
There you go.
A few days later, on 4th May, Baba picked this paper up from his table and crumpled it into a little ball, which he handed to Iraj, telling him to throw it into a well. The fragment of paper was thus tossed into a well at the bottom of a wrecked and detestable little lane known as Bhishti Nala, a lane in which a few of Baba's Mandli were staying and which so won their affections that they rechristened as Beastly Nala. So much then for this. So this Nala is in
Banaras.
where Baba? No. Baba is somewhere else, right? Baba moved away from Banaras and asked.
Oh yeah. This is Abu.
Abu, yeah.
Abu. Back to Abu.
So this
Correct.
this Bhishti Nala must be in Abu.
Abu. Back to Abu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So much then for this sequel to Baba's contact with Lakharia Baba. And now let us turn to the outstanding contact of this visit to Banaras. We should mention to begin with that on the early morning of this particular day, Baba had said that if he could make a satisfactory contact with an advanced soul of a really high type, he would be able to round off his work and would thus vote the tour a success. You may imagine, therefore, that the Baba's men were determined to strive their utmost to contribute to a successful and happy conclusion. And now to the man in question. Batwa Shah, a famous figure in Banaras, where he is known as Jua Shah. The word Jew means a louse. Jew. Okay. The one you have in your hair.
On your hair. Yeah.
Yeah, louse. Yeah. This alternative sobriquet has been applied to him because, as you may guess, he is literally swarming with these terrible parasites. He is also said to Batwa Baba that he comes of a good family and his home is near Ghazipur. Baba has told us that Batwa Shah is a very great must indeed, and he is Salik like at times and Mazub like at others. You may perhaps be better able to judge how great a must he is from a remark that Baba made when he was going through the first typescript of this chapter. When I sat near Batwa Shah, said Baba, I felt as if I was sitting near Chacha. And Chacha, as you may remember, is a God realized being, a mazub of the seventh plane. By studying the picture above, we may see for ourselves the aesthetic figure and pensive eyes of this great mast, though we may or may not guess that his temperament is prone to phases of irritability. We may see also from the perky whisper snapper sitting with him that Batwa Shah is fond of children and that children are also fond of him. The delightful little brat in this picture had, as a matter of fact, just been fed by Batwa Shah, which is perhaps why he is looking at the photographer with a slightly aggressive stare, as if to say, this is my place and not yours, and this is my uncle and not yours. Can we see the picture?
Yeah. There it is.
Oh, okay.
Batwa Shah with this kid whom he has fed.
Yes.
Karthik, can we look up the word asthenic?
Asthenic.
I'm not very sure of the meaning.
I'm sure I don't know the meaning. Asthenic. Of relating to or exhibiting asthenia, debilitated, characterized by slender build and slight muscular development, ectomorphic. So it's a medical term. So where did it come? Asthenic patient is a person who tells you not to have strength and valitude. Okay. So it's basically a weak person, but where did it show up?
The first line, by studying the picture above, we may see for ourselves the
Oh,
aesthetic.
yeah, asthenic figure. Okay. So, but he doesn't look too asthenic, does he? Yeah, he does. Yeah, it looks weak. Maybe because he's covered in a thing, we are not able to see that. Yeah. Okay. We start from here.
Yeah, okay. One of the distinctive features of Batwa Shah is that he carries sheets of paper wherever he goes, and as soon as he sits down anywhere, he pulls out a long and peculiar pencil and covers sheet after sheet with writing. At the bottom left hand corner of the picture, the outlines of some sheets of paper are discernible. Okay, you can make out that what it means.
Mhm.
And we see also that the child has one of Batwa Shah's long pencil in his mouth and is holding his finger to the shaft as if it were a fluid. This picture by the by was not taken at the time of contact, but in August 1949 when it was especially commissioned for this volume. Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay.
So where are the papers? Maybe he's referring to something here. It's not clear, but the pencil, yeah, he's holding like a flute. So that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Donkins can actually compete with what's his name, Francis Brabazon for the poetic and quality of language easily. Of course, compete with all the other Maharathis, C.D. Deshmukh, Don Stevens, Ivy Deuce, all of them with all the high language that Baba has blessed all of these people with.
Well, for some reason, Baba approved their old English
Or at
standard.
least this flowery style.
Mhm.
No, but I think it's more to do with this, as Kama puts it, right? It's a detective story. It's we it he may he it has purposefully made a little more complex,
Yeah.
right? And
I compare this in the movies, sometimes when the critical ending comes, they put all this rain and cloud, and you can hardly see. They do it on purpose,
Yeah.
probably to get more attention from the viewers.
Yes. Yes.
I
You're
wonder
right.
if Baba was using the same technique.
Yes. Yes.
Ravi,
You have to make efforts to understand.
Efforts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be as easy as a cake.
It's not like a novel reading.
Yeah. Yes.
correct, Sanjay and Ravi. It's like a puzzle or an enigma, and we have to solve.
Yeah. I mean, as a group, we learned a lot from reading this than we were to read that individually. If we were to
Oh,
put
absolutely.
individually, we will put it. If we have any difficulty, we'll just put it aside and say, okay, we'll read again, and that's it. We keep on postponing it.
Ravi, absolutely bang on. I really had a tough time when I started with God Speaks, maybe I think 20 years ago, and now
Hmm.
I have learned a lot from this group. I'm grateful to all.
Hey, you came 20 years back to Baba, is it?
Yes, and
Wow.
believe me, Karthik, they said that just put your book and under your pillow and it'll transmit. I tried even that.
This secret you have not told us before.
Okay, okay, okay.
4 years we have lost.
No. I,
So,
I,
just on a lighter vein.
I
Sorry.
know this sounds very different, but the Baba lovers in my group said, "Don't worry, like Mohan care and
No, it's
nothing."
okay. Yeah.
And this
So
is just
if book is a difficulty, we can copy in a USB and keep it maybe. Try
How
that.
many more secrets you have, Ashok?
Even more
Reveal.
Ravi, it's all, I'm a very simple person.
I mean, no need to say that, Ashokji. We all know. Yeah. Jai Baba, love you.
Hey, Baba.
The other men with Baba then tried to coax Batwasha to go with
No, no,
them to the mosque.
I think we start
Okay.
from the first line. When Baba.
Okay. When Baba and his men went to Batwasha in the morning, Baidul saw a mosque hard by and thought it was good place for Baba's work. Hard by means close by.
Maybe I
You
think
see
that's a
the
typo
English.
there.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a close by. That's what it means. Hard by. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's go ahead. And thought of it as a good place for Baba's work of contact. He therefore said to Batwa Baba, "Come with me to that mosque. I have given, I have forgiven the mosque," retorted Batwa Shah. "So now I don't come there." The other men with Baba then tried to coax Batwa Shah to go with them to the mosque and to go somewhere, at least, where Baba might contact him privately. But alas, without success. The same evening, however, they all came back to him again, and Batwa sent Iraj with a "please, please, please" that contact should be allowed. To this, the reply was, "Come at 9 o'clock tonight." So, yeah. So at 9 o'clock back came Baba with his men for the third time that day. They found Batwa Shah lying on a charpai, country bed, at the edge of the road, and Baba sat by Batwa Shah's side on this bed and so contacted him. It happened also that Batwa Shah had some food with him, food which had been given him by one of the many people who revere him, and he ate about half of this in Baba's presence and then handed the plate to Baba and told him to eat up what was left. Not alone. Not long after Baba had complied with this request, a woman bought a plate of food and gave it to Batwa Shah. As before, Batwa Shah himself ate about half of what was on the plate and then handed the rest to Baba, telling him to eat it up. During all this time, the woman had remained standing nearby, and when Baba had almost finished eating, there was only a mouthful or two left. Batwa Shah took the plate away and gave it to the woman, telling her to distribute the food that remained amongst her family. Oh, wow, so lucky. Therefore, if you please, Batwa Shah asked Baba to scratch him. Baba at once complied with his request, and for half an hour he sat by Batwa Shah and scratched him. A delightful scene, one must confess. Finally, he said aloud to Baba in English, "Permitted and allowed." This strange and curt remark brought the contact to an end, and Baba came came away brimming with an infectious joy that put a new spirit into his tired but faithful companions. In striving to do justice to this work of Meher Baba with advanced souls and others, I find myself still by the horns of a dilemma. When Baba began this great work many years ago, there was a morning freshness about it that stimulated his mandali to a vital enthusiasm. But these labors have now gone for so many years that this man who go with Baba on these tours have begun to show symptoms of a languor of the spirit, not unlike the ennui that oppresses one on an steamy summer afternoon. One of the results of this is that their descriptions uh, of all except the most exceptional contacts are inclined to be perfunctory, or worse still, to consist of a mere inventory of a physical peculiarities. This is not, to be sure, their fault at all, but it has the effect of making the job of putting these events on paper very difficult indeed. And then, of course, it is clear that no one except Baba himself knows the real meaning of these contacts. The whole thing is a mystery as deep and insoluble as life itself. This personal Jeremiad is okay, gymnastics kind of. I think this personal Jeremiad is only half the dilemma, and the other half is an almost neurotic obsession in my own mind that all this work of Mer Baba with advanced souls, sadhus, and the mad and the poor must be put on record with a faithful attention to detail. Jai Baba. So this
That I
paragraph had
think
couple of
that I
words.
think
Yeah.
yeah, that I think he did with a great sense of responsibility. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Long literary work, Jeremiad, but
Oh,
sometimes in verse. So that he
okay.
used
Okay.
his personal Jeremiad, right?
And there was another word in the previous paragraph.
Many words, Enui, languor of the spirit,
Yeah.
steamy. Let's see.
Innui.
I think it's French. Ennui, a feeling of weariness and dissatisfaction, boredom. That's why he
Hmm.
said afternoon on a steamy summer afternoon. So basically, the struggle of the Mandali to keep up with Baba on these tours. And how do you pronounce that
Languor of
word?
the
Now that we
spirit.
are ennui. Inactivity, usual lack of energy of the spirit. That's what linked
That is
to
languor.
ennui. Yeah, that's languor. Inactivity.
Okay. So you can read Karthik or Ravi.
Yeah. Sure. And I can read, or Ashish if he wants to read, Ravi.
Yeah, I can also do this.
Yeah. Okay. So you can start from there is. Jai Baba
There is,
Ashish.
Jai Baba. There is, before we close this chapter, still another tour to be dealt with. To deal with a tour that was so trying to those who went with Baba, in bracket, hit almost no sleep and hardly any food, that they could describe a little of it beyond their own exhaustion, alas, which has so infected me that I find myself reluctant to describe more than one contact. From Banaras, then, which is where we left off, Baba went on to Gaya and returned thence to Abu. About round dozen days later, he set out again on his last tour from Mount Abu, and the details of this journey are listed in the summary. The tour began with a good contact in Palanpur and ended with some first class work in Hyderabad. But it is to one contact in village near Yadgiri that I shall confine myself. Tilgur Swami. There's a star. There must be something at down. This man was wrongly called Telugu Swami in the supplement of the Wayfarers under Yadgiri. Okay.
Okay, it's Tilgur. Tilgur.
Telugu Swami is a God realized being. If we study the teachings of Meher Baba, we find that realized beings may be divided for all practical purposes into three types: the Mazub, the Jivan Mukta, and the perfect master. The Mazub is merged completely and utterly so in God. Sufis call this state the final fana, and it is state in which the soul experiences but does not use infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss. This means that although the Mazub is conscious of himself as God, he is quite oblivious of the three spheres: gross, subtle,
and mental. The state of the Jivan Mukta, the second type, will I believe be better understood if we first say a word or two about the third type, the perfect master. Meher Baba, Meher Baba tells us that the perfect master experiences and uses infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss, and that he is also conscious of the three spheres: gross, subtle, and mental. We therefore see that he is conscious of himself as God, and on top of this, that he is conscious also of the three spheres. Most important of all, he has the authority to use his infinite powers and so can help all living things towards their ultimate goal and can also make certain souls spiritually perfect. We should mention by the by that when Vedantist use the word Sadguru and Sufis the word Salike Mukammil, they mean or ought to mean none other than the perfect master. Now to go back to the second type, the Jivan Mukta, who is the position or state. Call it what you will, which has been described by Baba as a divine junction. Without wishing to be too recondite, I ought to explain that Vedantists refer to this position of the Jivan Mukta as a Turya Avastha and Sufi as Fana Mal Baka, and the latter, incidentally, which they speak of the Jivan Mukta, may use the word Azade Mutallak. The, the state of consciousness of the Jivan Mukta is not easy to put down in so many words. Perhaps, however, the simplest way to start is to say that it varies from time to time and is sometimes a consciousness of himself as a God, in bracket, exactly like a mazub, in fact, and sometimes a consciousness of one or other of the spheres, gross, subtle, or mental, in bracket, not at all like mazub, in fact. It is also necessary to explain that when the Jivan Mukta is conscious of himself as God, he is not conscious of any of the spheres, and that vice versa. When he is conscious of any particular sphere, he is not conscious of himself as God. Nevertheless, whatever his state of consciousness, that is, whether of himself as God or of some sphere or other, he always is and always will be one with God. I should mention finally that Meher Baba has told us that the perfect master always has a duty while in the body, but that the Mazub and the Jivan Mukta do not. This
Very good.
explanation is,
Very good
yeah,
summary. We can quickly see what he's talking about. So if you go to the charts, uh, oops, he's talking about the position here, right? The divine junction. So the the divine absorbed is left, and perfect master is right. But then divine junction is here, where you are God realized and you have access to infinite power, knowledge, and bliss. But then you use it one at a time. And well, I think it's better to stick to the God speaks definition, because this all also sounds like Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa is where you can alternate between God consciousness and creation consciousness. But the specific divine junction that he's talking about is what I wanted to quickly give you a reference. That's it, from chart 9, right? Is this chart 9? Whatever.
State
This
9, right? Where you're talking about
chart 9 or chart 8, I think. I don't know.
10 states of God, but state 9, right? What you're trying to say, the dot.
Yes, 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 yes. Correct. The dot. That's the divine junction.
Yes.
Turiya Avastha.
I think this is chart 8 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. The 10 states of God chart. Yeah. Like Ravi said, right? So this kind of references, this kind of dictionary references, this kind of discussion is near impossible if you do it as a personal journey, right? As a
Yes,
personal journey, we are not so disciplined, we are not so diligent, right? And I think I'm so glad that we have each other.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to add, I checked up the word recondite in this dictionary. It means out of the way, little known, abstruse, of subjects of knowledge. There's a word which came in recondite, I think, earlier.
Super, thank you.
Good job, Ashok.
No, no, it's just as Karthik has put it, uh, Sahvas and joint learning.
Correct.
Baba is the one who is getting us all together and giving us knowledge.
Absolutely, Ravi. And there's another myth or another saying which I learned is that if there are five or more persons who are gathered in Baba's memory,
I think
he
it's two or more.
or two or more. So
Two,
Yeah, yeah.
two. Yeah.
thanks for correcting. Right. Uh, so it's is that we have Baba along with us in this journey last so many years.
Actually, Baba told to Mandali, I don't know who told who, but this is very well known among Baba community that if two or more people gather to talk about him and scheduled a meeting, Baba said to the Mandali that he would be there 5 minutes before.
Yes, 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 yes. I remember this as one of the early statements, and since then, my commitment to punctuality has only gone up. I'm generally very
Yes,
punctual, and I have
you
been
are
like
very
that.
punctual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And
uh,
so that explains, Karthik, why you are there 10 minutes before.
I'm always like that. Even in physical meetings,
Yes,
I'm very embarrassed, even if I'm a minute or two late. I'm very embarrassed. But that's even pre-Baba. So maybe that's my son. That's probably from my earlier contact with Baba, which I'm sure I've had.
it's your prarabdha.
See, Baba said, right? Baba said that even in the scriptures, it's there. It's Kala. Kala is Shiva.
Hmm.
God is time. So
Yes.
we have to follow that. Baba always followed time, and we have to follow time. Just to
Yeah, yeah.
because
I
we
mean,
love Baba.
yes. And if
Yeah.
he gave so much of importance to time, we should
Uh-huh.
as well. We should as well. The least we can do is that. Yes. Agreed.
Okay, I will continue.
Yes.
This explanation is, I know, the very incarnation of
So
clumsiness.
he's also giving a exit line. Okay, go ahead.
I know the very incarnation of clumsiness. Could we compare it with the Baba's original lucid explanation? One of the things the Mandari never ceased to wonder at the clarity and simplicity of Baba's explanation of spiritual gnosis. You may wonder then why on earth we do not stick to Baba's original words? And to this, I can only reply that Baba generally gives out this explanation at any time or in any place, so that people are rarely ready with paper, pencil, and knowledge of shorthand to make notes of his ipsissima verba. The inevitable consequence is, therefore, that one has to dredge the muddy tidal creeks of one's own, of someone else's memory. Tilgur Swami, Ipsissima
I mean,
Verba.
I think it's basically verbatim. Verbatim. It must be something exactly as heard. Ipsima verba Latin. The very words. The exact words. So very words. So that's what it means. Okay. Still good, Swami. Yeah.
Tilgur Swami is Baba tell us a Jivan Mukta, a God realized being in the state of the divine junction. He was first contacted in 1945, and a description of this original meeting will be found in supplement of the Wayfarers. At the second contact in May 1949, in bracket, as indeed at the first, Tilgur Swami embraced Baba with fervor, and those with Baba noticed that Tilgur Swami was now naked. This nakedness was striking because they remembered that he had been fully clothed at the meeting 4 years earlier. It was natural, therefore, that Baba's men, as they tramped back to Yadgiri, should have begun to discuss this nakedness and that they should have asked Baba for some explanation of it. Baba's reply was simply this, that although a Jivan Mukta does not himself change his habits, his habit nevertheless change of their own accord. So much then for this contact with Tilgur Swami. For an account of the full itinerary of this tour and of its many contacts turn, if you are hungry for solid facts, to the summary, where brief notes are given in chronological order.
Okay,
Chapter 3.
so chapter 3. Maybe we can stop here. I think we can't finish today, so I think we'll try to finish it tomorrow. And from next week, we do the new book, right? So I think we'll stop here and maybe chat for a couple
What
of
have you
minutes.
decided, Karthik, for the new book?
I'll comment in a minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
Karthik, also request that if you could put the soft copy if you have of
Off?
of whatever we are going to read.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
courses, the Mera.
Okay, sure. I will do that. In fact, we'll stop recording at this time and then we can continue. So, to answer Ravi's question,